Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about helping your veterinary practice attract, engage, and retain clients. Broadcasting a new podcast every Monday from sunny Southern California, here's your host, Brandon Bashirs.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode number 195 of the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about what you can do to keep your practice busy. This is, I think, extremely important right now because we have the coronavirus pandemic situation going on where all kinds of things are being canceled. There's a lot of fear of the unknown, and people are nervous out there. So what can you do to keep your practice busy? I think this is going to be some really helpful, very practical tips for you that you can do right away. Before we begin, I want to mention a few things. I actually did a Facebook Live, so if you ever want to do live Q&As and things, I'm just starting to be a lot more active in there too. I've got tons of great content planned. Head on over to the Facebook group, The Veterinary Marketing Nerds. If you go to facebook.com/groups/The Veterinary Marketing Nerds, you can request to join. Tons of really smart people in there doing all kinds of cool things, so be sure to join there. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts from. All right, so let's jump into today's episode. I'm sure you're probably wondering what you should do to make sure your practice doesn't slow down. It feels like there's going to be an economic slowdown. Just with the number of industries that are being affected by travel bans, cruise ships, hospitality industries, events, just a ton of commerce is slowing down here in the U.S. and I'm sure across the globe as well. So what can you do to make sure that you're not left high and dry and that your practice doesn't have slowdowns and you're just wondering what you should do? So I think that, number one, if you at least acknowledge that this is going to be a potential problem, what can I do to keep things going? What can I do to make sure that we're going to be proactive instead of reactive? I think that that's very, very important as a number one thing to talk about. And then number two is that volatility creates opportunity. And that is the truth. I mean, last time there was a recession, there was a lot of people that were caught unexpected by it. And those people that were not planning for it or that were not open to different ideas or opportunities, who tried to do things the way that they had been doing them, were damaged. So there's a lot of scary things out there, but there's also just so much opportunity. We live in a time that we have more ways to connect with people than ever before. We have more technology that is cheap, that is highly effective. And so there's just so much opportunity. We can look at the glass half full, or you can look at the glass half empty. But the truth is that the reality that you create for yourself by taking action is going to be what helps you to get through all of these things. So I just wanted to say that, because we're going to be talking about some stuff that probably will make you feel nervous, just because if you remember the last recession that happened, it got bad. And I was in real estate at the time, and it was awful as somebody working in real estate. So luckily, I think that we just have so many tools and so many cool opportunities. We'll talk about this now. But instead of thinking of volatility as a bad thing, think about it as a good thing. So let's talk about how people are perceiving this problem and the trouble that they're facing. There's two ways that we can create client profiles, and two ways that we can understand our clients and how they're thinking and what they're feeling and who they are. When we create client avatars, we talk about demographics a lot of times, which is what is their income level? What are the jobs that they have? What are the education levels that they have? How many kids do they have? Those kind of things. When we're talking about situations that are like, there's a lot of fear out there, whether it's irrational or rational, who's to say? But there's just a lot of unknowns right now. And so people are worried about, fear of loss, fear of missing out. That's why we have toilet paper shortages right now. People are running out and buying stuff because they see everybody else buying it. There's not really a need for it. I mean, it's not like you can eat toilet paper, right? But people are going out and buying it in bulk. And so it's a great example of people are just afraid. And what do they do when their mind starts to kind of be like, what should I do? You have definitely on things like this, people have right now a tremendous amount of fears. So when we're thinking about the different psychographics that they're experiencing, we need to understand, what do people want? If we can serve their needs by giving them what they want or what their brain is looking for, we're going to be a valued service provider in their minds. I think this is very important to realize, right? Providing value, I mean, like think about therapists and psychologists. A lot of times they will just listen to you and talk to you and ask you questions and help you to work through your own stuff, right? And that provides value. And so are they actually doing something, right? They have a ton of training and things, right? But they're helping you to do stuff yourself. And so along those lines, if you think about how can we help people feel at ease? How can we help people feel certainty? How can we give them guidance? How can we give them convenience? How can we ease their fears so that they're not worried about this thing? When people start to worry about stuff, it takes up a lot of mental energy and a lot of time. And so if you're the person that's giving them, here's exactly what you need to do. Here's the things that you need to have available. Here's situations that you need to come in. There's not a question of, is my dog going to be okay if we don't come in? This is a situation where if this is happening, you need to come in. That kind of stuff. People want to have peace of mind. And if you can solve that problem and tell them, hey, these are the things you need to worry about. This is when you need to come in. Here's the situations where if it's X, Y, and Z, if you're giving people exactly what to do, they have that peace of mind. And then they don't have to worry about that piece anymore. So providing kind of solutions to those problems that people are having in their own minds that are going on provides just so much value. So think about how the marketing, the messaging that you're doing, how can you, number one, address those fears if you're talking to people? Define the fears. That's a great marketing tool and marketing tactic in general. If people feel like you understand them, they're going to say, this person knows exactly what I'm feeling. They know exactly what I'm thinking. They must have the solution because they know what's going on. And that's certainly true. I mean, that's one of the biggest ways that you can call out a target market and a target audience is by defining their problems that they're feeling. If I said to you as a veterinary professional who does marketing, if I said, are you worried about, slowdowns in your practice? What are you going to do if your clients stop coming in? What are you, like all these things that you're thinking about, you say, yeah, that's exactly what the problem that I'm feeling. But the thing about that is you can't just define the problem and leave them hanging. You have to give them practical solutions for each one of these things. And once you do that, they're going to say, this person knows my problems and they understand how to get through this. So this is the person that I'm going to trust and use. And I think that that's very, very valuable. So, here's what I think are some good pieces of content that you can use to help serve their current mindsets and their current psychographics that they're thinking about, right? Which is updates and acknowledgement content. You've probably been getting this like crazy in your emails, in your company updates that you've been following. Things like, I saw a really good email, in my opinion, from Petco, from the CEO, that said, hey, this is what we're doing to make sure everything is good. Here's what we have for you. Here's what we're doing for you. And they helped to ease fears a lot. And I think that was great. Pretending like the problem doesn't exist doesn't help people who are nervous about it. And so you have to say, hey, this is something that we know is a serious issue. This is what we're doing about it. And that helps people feel like, we're not ignoring the problem. Another type of content is, here's our plan, right? Even if you don't have a fully established plan because you don't know what's happening, but, here's what we are going to do to make sure that we're on top of this. If this happens, then we're going to do this. I saw an email update that came from a food delivery service that said, we have plans in place that if people are feeling ill, they can call in sick and we have sick pay for them. And that way we're not exposing you to anything that you might be worried about, right? And I know that the likelihood and chance of being exposed is very, very little, but it helps people to just feel so much more at ease. And that does not become an objection anymore. If you can take the objection off the table before it even comes up, you're going to have a lot more success. And I hope that makes sense. Another type of content that helps them is giving people tools to be proactive. So here are the info and the items that you need to have at your disposal. If, let's say, that you're worried about having special medications for your pet. Does your pet have these issues? Here's the medications that you need to have. Here's what we're doing to make that easy for you so that you can get those medications. Here's the kind of dog food that you need to have. How much dog food should you have? Things like that help people to get prepared and do the things that they need to do. Another type of thing is like, let me make this easier on you. I've noticed that a lot of the big box retailer stores, everything from Home Depot to Walmart to Target, they have drive-up services or delivery services, same-day delivery services. And I'm not saying that you have to do that. But if you have nothing going on in your practice, what are you going to do? Are you going to have everybody just sit around and hope things get better? Or maybe you start doing house calls. Maybe you start, doing who knows what, but same day food delivery, house calls, saying, you know what, we're going to make sure that we limit exposure in the practice by having parking lot check-in, which leads me to my next point, which is making it less scary for you. If you can do things that make it feel less scary, then it actually is effective as well. So doing, as I mentioned, parking lot check-ins so that you don't have people hanging out in the waiting room, and then they get taken directly to the exam rooms. Or things like that, that are creative and out of the box. But if you show, and I think that it's very important that you show people what you're doing, how you're doing it, because if they can see it, they're going to believe it better. And so give people a video of, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we've set up. When you get here, you park, you call us. We'll have somebody come out and register you in your car. You wait until we're ready, and then we bring you in. And I think that would be a great option. So the next thing that I think is another really great tool is the here's what we're doing type of thing. So that is saying, here's everything that we're doing to make sure that you're going to stay safe, and here's the precautions that we're taking. And, a thing that I saw recently from Target was that they have it scheduled now that they're going to be cleaning everything and disinfecting everything every 30 minutes at the front end of the self-checkouts and all the checkout lanes, and making sure that that is done on a regular basis so that people feel safer, right? And I think that that's important. So those are things I didn't say, do widespread discounting. I didn't say, cut prices or, do these kind of things. Giving you tips that help you to provide value by thinking outside of the box. And your practice, your patients and what they want, what they need, and how to interact with them. On top of that, too, I think that it might be a great time to take a look at telemedicine, because that's only going to be getting more and more popular as time goes on, especially because I think this is probably something that's going to happen probably pretty regularly, just because, unfortunately, in the world of social media, I think fears like this kind of spread pretty rapidly. And I don't know, I'm not a medical professional. I just sit in my marketing cave all day. And so, anyways, if you feel like, this is going to be something that's happening on a regular basis, take proactive actions and proactive measures to get started with telemedicine, because it's going to be, I think, beneficial. It's also way more convenient for the patients. I mean, I had an experience with telemedicine with my daughter that was amazing. And I was like, geez, I wish I could only use this from now on. I know there's instances where you need to go to the doctor physically, but for most things, it's just so much more convenient. So let's recap here really quick on things that you can do, practical ideas that you could roll out, especially in a coronavirus outbreak or situation like this in the future. But limited time house calls and doing that kind of stuff would be highly convenient, especially if people are working from home now. Makes a lot of sense. No waiting room, which means curbside check-in. That is something that's pretty easy to implement and helps people feel more safe. Regular disinfecting schedule, and show the people doing this in the practice what we're doing. We make sure to go through and disinfect all the exam suites and all of those things. And then telemedicine as well, I think, is a fantastic idea practically to do that. So let's talk, though, about another thing. We just talked about the mindset of the clients, how we can provide value by addressing that mindset in our marketing. I think that if we talk about growing, though, how can we grow in these situations of volatility? I think it's important to understand that there are needs and things that are perceived to be needs, and there are things that are perceived to be wants in vet med by your clients. And so if you have procedures that these are things that are essential and they can't be skipped, they can't be missed, those are the kind of things that are the needs that you want to be targeting and marketing. And so if you have a product or service that you know you won't have people canceling because they're inconvenienced by things. Those are the kinds of services that you want to be promoting. So if you have, and again, this kind of is on a varying scale, right? Some people would say that regular dentals are a need and not a want. And some people would say regular dental work for your pet is a want and not a need. So you have different demographics of pet owners that believe different things. So that can also be addressed in your marketing as well. You can be targeting the people who are non-negotiable about these things, that this item of service that I need is not negotiable. Everything that my dog needs is non-negotiable, versus people that are like, hey, you know what? We're going to have to put vet visits on hold for a little bit because we're nervous about things. You have that range of potential pet owners. So targeting the right ones, and I've been saying this for a super long time, that you need to have ad campaigns running. You need ads running. If you think that when the economy slows down, that's a time to tighten the belt and stop paying for ads, you will be sorely mistaken, because that is the time you need ads more than ever to capture new clients, to get the new clients and the new traffic into your practice. Not just the new traffic, but the right kinds of traffic, the right kinds of offers. So targeting those transactional phrase matches that are driving business into your practice. The kinds of searches that are essential and not something that they want. It's something that they actually need to have. So let's talk really quick, though, about essential elements that you need to have in place. Marketing, it's time. If you don't have these things, it's time right now. If you need help with these things, I have clients that say all the time, people that listen to the podcast say all the time to me, hey, Brandon, can you help me with this or that? Absolutely. Send me an email, send me a message, and we will get started on this, because it is time right now. Number one thing that you need to have a website that is awesome. It can't be good. It can't be good enough. We need a website that is awesome. What does that mean? It needs to look good. It needs to load quickly. It needs to be set up for direct response. And it needs to be optimized for SEO. That's it. There's not any time to sit around anymore. It's time for this to be set up. If you're wondering who I would suggest with it, it would be Whisker Cloud for sure. If you go to whiskercloud.com, there's a button that says demo. Get a demo with them. They are an amazing company. They're set up too. One thing that I think is really, really important to note is that they're set up. They can work remote. They're there all the time. They are obsessed with customer service, and they get it done for you. So having a web dev team in your corner that you trust and that you know nothing will go down, that if there was a quarantine or a serious problem, it would be up and it would be working. So I think that that's very important. The next thing that I think is an essential element I've been talking about forever is email marketing. You need to have email marketing in place. If you don't have an email marketing campaign set up so that you can email blast your clients, send them offers, send them important updates, keep in touch with them, and use it as a tool to build relationships, to sell things in your practice, it's time for it. Go get a MailChimp account. Or if you already have a MailChimp account, use it. Or if you have Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign or whatever you have, be sure to use it. It's time to use it. Send an email, people. These people need it. Send out an email on the updates that you decide to implement here. The third item and third element is social selling. If you have social media channels, you need to learn how to sell to them. And what does that mean? I think that I'm going to do a full episode on this for sure, because it is such an important thing. But your social media needs to sell services for you. They need to know what they need to know. If they don't know what it is that you do, what kind of services you offer, what they need to be looking out for, tell them to do that. I'm going to tell you a really quick trick on this, and we're going to go way further in depth into it because there's a lot more to it than this. But people like to be educated, and when they're educated, their mind is open to things. If people are being sold, you're automatically suspicious. Your brain flips into suspicious mode. You say, this guy's selling me something. There has to be some kind of a problem here. Once you cross the line from going educational to, when you cross that line, something happens in person's brain and they don't want to be sold. People don't like to be sold. And so an easy way to sell on social media is to tell stories, and tell stories on what happened and then either what could have gone right or what did go right or what happened and what should have happened based on the desired outcome for you. So, I mean, if you're talking about heartworm, for example, you could say, I had a client who had a dog, and he said, I don't need heartworm treatment. My dog doesn't ever go outside unless I'm with it. And, he's mostly an inside dog, tiny little chihuahua or whatever. And he just wouldn't take my advice. And it was so sad because what ended up happening was, and then, tell the story. And I don't want this to happen to you. And I have clients who say all the time to me, what can I do? So here's exactly what you need to do. Number one, schedule an appointment. We'll go through, right? You just sold something. You said, here's the call to action. What can I do? My clients ask me, what can I do? So that's a simple transition where you can go from educating, you're embedding a testimonial story. And then once you're done educating, you go on to, here's what clients ask me, here's what I suggest. And that is a very tricky, subtle way to go from educating to call to action without being like, here's what you need to do. Just come in and schedule an appointment. This is an ad for, you're not saying that. You're giving people a call to action without directly selling to them. The fourth and final thing that I'm going to tell you here for essential elements that you need to have in place is target intent-based ads. You need to know the services that you're going to be promoting. What is it going to be? What are the things that people can't live without? In slow economies and practices, using that as a way to drive new clients and new business into your practice is extremely, extremely important. And I know that there's a lot to that, but target the intent that you're looking to target and expand on it and really help to grow your business by focusing in on a few services and then adding a few more in your ads and getting it figured out. But right now is the time to be testing it, because if things start to really slow down, it's going to only get more and more difficult to try to, dig yourself out of a hole. So I don't mean to say all that to scare you, but I really think that if you're proactive and if you're making smart decisions, you'll be able to get through this and not only, survive, but you'll be able to thrive. It's my hope for you. So if you need any help, please don't hesitate to reach out. I have people that send me emails all the time. I have people that send me messages on Facebook. Head on over to the Facebook group. That's a great place to get help as well. I hope that you have a wonderful day. I hope everything is going good for you. And please, if there's anything that you need help with, don't hesitate to reach out. If you're having a hard time with something, don't hesitate to reach out. And I'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one, everybody.